Hello and welcome back to Girls on Deck. I'm Kayla Burge.
And I'm Lindsay Tellez.
And we're going to start off the show with some MLB history happening this past Sunday. Albert Pujols tied Willie Mays for the fifth most home runs in MLB history with 660. I mean, it's pretty awesome, or we witnessed history a little bit on Sunday.
Yes, congratulations. I feel like we are breaking records every single day this season, and I'm here for it.
No, I literally, it's been exciting to watch. It makes this kind of crappier season a little more exciting in a sense.
Yes, I can only imagine how his teammates were feeling knowing that home run was coming up and then the excitement for him.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Even the Rockies, they scored against the Rockies. It's like, how can you even be mad about it? Like, he just broke history, It's awesome to see. So then, now we're going to jump into a little more baseball, but Florida focused. So this is something that we're going to introduce, and we're going to be doing it weekly or every other week, but we're going to dive into the main Florida sports as of now.
Yes, so we're going to jump right into the Miami Marlins. Now, they're cooking up something down there in Miami. And let's talk about this starting rotation. They're really fueling a rebuild like management promised a couple years ago. And honestly, it's showing up a little bit sooner than people expected.
Definitely. It's something that, even going into this season, I grew up in Miami, so I know a little bit about the Marlins. But it's like, something I didn't even expect going into this season. I was like, that's not going to happen for years. Like, Jeter doesn't know what he's doing, and it's like, I wanted so badly low-key for them to fail, but it's like, I can't help but be like a little bit, all right, like, I'll give you applause for
let's take a look at all these young, strong arms. We have Sixto Sanchez, my personal favorite. We have their top number 7 prospect, Braxton Garrett. Now, he pitched a great game on Sunday. And then we have Alcantara, Lopez. It's just...
And not to forget Brian Anderson, who, when I was watching the Marlins back in 2017, when he had Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, and all that, he was a rookie. And now he's kind of like one of their star players, like that, like, team mesh, like the one that kind of gets everyone together.
Yes, he's one of those core players for the Marlins.
Definitely. And he threw a rocket launcher against the Phillies to Jesus Aguilar. And it was, I sent it to you on Twitter because I was like, what just happened? I mean, it was an amazing throw. So I just thought, I watched it so many times.
Yeah, this team is so hot and cold, though. Like, let's take a look at this past weekend. They swept that doubleheader from the Phillies. And then, that crazy 29-9 game against the Braves.
I mean, it was embarrassing for them, but insane to watch such a score. Like 29-9. That's not something I ever thought would be possible, but...
Yes, and there was also a record broken that day. Now, it was Freddie Freeman's 1,500th career hit.
Oh, my gosh. Again, record after record after record.
Yes.
So now we're going to go into the Rays a little bit. They are number 1 in the AL East. Sorry to the Yankees. Not sorry at all.
Sorry, not sorry.
Austin Meadows has been a right fielder, hitting 1 homer, 3 RBIs, and multiple hits in the last 3 games at least. He's been someone that they can definitely rely on. Now going into their pitching, Tyler Glasnow is one of the top pitchers in the league right now, and he struck out 73 batters just this season.
Yeah, this Rays team, I've always described them as a pest.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a weird word to use, but honestly, that's what I think of them as because the Rays have always been underestimated, I think. Yeah. And when you take a look at their lineup, it's like, are you even paying attention to the players that they have on this team?
And they make it so close, but it's like not close enough to where like people pay attention. If that makes any sense, It's like It's like they get into the playoffs, they do really good, but then they're out before anyone has a chance to notice. So that's something I want them to go a little further this year, and I think they're capable of it for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, they've always been a team that has kind of been an underdog, but not really underdog. Yeah. Just like you said, people aren't paying attention to them, and they could be a dangerous force in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
And now we're going to switch gears and talk about some NFL, particularly the Buccaneers and Saints game on Sunday.
It was a little disappointing if you're a Bucs fans, with the additions of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. I'm sure you had a little hope, maybe not. But they lost 34-23. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people believe that this has to do with Tom Brady cracking under pressure. He just throws it out of bounds, or he just throws wherever and has no really direction. So that could be something where Drew Brees beat him out in that sense. But an interesting stat is that Tom Brady is the 3rd quarterback to throw 3 straight pick sixes in the last 3 games. So something interesting if you're a little record fan. To talk more Sunday football, we will be talking to Sam O'Donnell. Stay tuned.
how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for a future success? And do you maybe have a favorite failure of yours?
I think there was a time in my life where I was living in Germany. I'd lived in Germany for a year. You might have read that in the article, actually. And I remember coming back from Germany and having the goal in mind to like work in baseball, but really being completely resigned that there's no way I could possibly make it happen. I just didn't have, the technical coding know-how to be like a numbers cruncher in a front office. I didn't really have like any connections in the industry to speak of. And so I just felt like completely dejected. And, I had this YouTube channel that had 800 subscribers. And the first time I made a baseball bits, which is, like you said, the flagship series, I probably got like 200 views or something like that. But then I kept making them. And I think by the time I got to the third one, it just blew up. And then that's kind of where I got to where I am now.
And welcome back to Girls on Deck. We have with us Hitting the Field Network member Sam O'Donnell. How are you doing today, Sam?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing great and ready to hop into this very
very hot topic.
Yes. So Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott spoke out about his depression that he battled during quarantine. And he said he could barely get up and go work out. And he said he wasn't getting much sleep at all. And his older brother, Jace, committed suicide weeks later at the end of April. Now, Fox Sports host Skip Bayless took it upon himself to make some very insensitive and, in my opinion, heartless comments on Undisputed last Thursday.
It was, Skip Bayless is known to be a controversial, host, but there's always a line, and he lost sense of it clearly, and it's like how heartless can you be? Like, someone is being so vulnerable, like football players, they're known as like the manly mans, the tough guy. So someone being so vulnerable to share their experience with depression and you just knocking them down completely is just unbelievable to me.
Yes, he made those comments on World Suicide Prevention Day. Okay. And he said he had no sympathy for Prescott. And he said that the team is expecting him to lead and be their CEO, which is true.
It's true. But sometimes the leader and the CEO need a break as well. Not everyone.
Yes.
That's something so toxic too, is that someone, like, no one should have so much pressure that where they can't have a bad day or a bad month or whatever, like, we're all human at the end of the day, and we're not God, we're not like held to a higher standard than any other. Like, we're all human and we all have our issues. So it was so like just disheartening to hear that coming from Skip Bayless, someone that people look up to as a reporter, and it was just disheartening. So.
Absolutely. And he said that he shouldn't show weakness to other teams and that he should fight that internally.
Yeah.
Now, that is your opinion. And he did say that he came from a really rough childhood home, and he said that's what he had to do. He had to learn to fight with it by himself. But that's what you had to do. You are not a mental health professional.
No,
you know what I mean? And
not.
this topic is very close to my heart because I have family members who are battling with depression, and it's very serious, and it causes a really, it takes a toll on everybody involved. And for him to use his platform to spew this
this
almost
negativity,
hatred of what Dak Prescott should be doing, it's just disgusting.
No, it's disgusting. And I want to hear your thoughts on that, Sam. Like, what do you think of the whole thing?
Yes.
Well, first of all, the weakness part really, really stood out to me, what Bayless said. There is no weakness in what Prescott said. There was nothing weak about that statement he made. He is the quarterback of America's team, the Cowboys. Many, many, many young men look up to Prescott. And I believe he is a great role model, especially now, with coming forward about his depression, coming forward about all the hardships he's faced in the past couple of years. He's still struggling when his mother died of colon cancer in 2013. He just lost his own brother. He has every right to feel the way he wants to feel, and he has every right to express those feelings. He is a great role model for young men in football and not in football as well, to come forward and express their feelings and express their mental health issues as well. And Bayless's comments were heartless. He said that there's no compassion in football. Well, obviously Bayless has no compassion for what he said to Prescott. It really made me sick. I did not like that. I think Prescott is an outstanding man, and I love that Fox Sports took a stand against it, took a stand against Bayless. And I hope that Bayless grows from this and learns from this experience and is open to having conversation about these issues. Yes, that's what I believe.
Absolutely. I think that something that important that I thought you noted was that people look up to, little kids look up to Dak Prescott. That's their hero. That's their idol.
Absolutely.
And I think it's so important that he was so vulnerable and open, and so it's awesome because I'm sure there's kids going through depression that look up to him and they're like, they feel ashamed of it. It's something that you should never feel ashamed of. Mental health is not something that we can control. It's a sickness. It's an illness. So I think it's awesome that he'll maybe help younger kids get help that they didn't think that they needed before. So I think that's something that Skip Bayless didn't take into account either, or maybe he didn't. He's just that heartless of a human being.
Yes, and the purpose of Dak Prescott wanting to come out was because he wanted to show everyone that you are not alone in this, and how you're feeling. He was feeling it too, and he's a celebrity basically, and money doesn't make people happy, of course, and these things happen and they should not be buried. No. And there is help and resources out there for you, and
there should never be criticism, and it should just be like an overwhelming pouring of support. Like, you shouldn't be criticized for having depression. Like, that doesn't even make sense saying that out loud,
Yeah, and after Skip Bayless made those comments, Dak Prescott came out, and it wasn't directly at what he said, but we know that's what he was talking about, and his quote was, "I don't care how big a person you are. If you are not mentally healthy and you're not thinking the right way, then you are not going to be able to lead people the right way." So what are your thoughts on that, Sam?
Being a leader is so much more than telling people what to do. Being a leader, you should be able to inspire others. You should have empathy. You should be able to be the person that people look up to and that they want to aspire to be someday. Prescott is an amazing, amazing leader in this sense because his story is inspirational. He is coming out with these heavy topics. He is making it known. He is a celebrity. He has success. He has fame. He has wealth. And he still feels what a normal person feels. He still goes through the same things that many people go through. He is an amazing leader. He can not only lead his team to victory, but he can also inspire, again, young men and even young women to be open about depression, to start this conversation. Now we are able to have this conversation in a medium where it usually really isn't talked about in sports. So he's an amazing leader in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely. And I think he has inspired people to open up about it. I know Stephen A. Smith, an ESPN reporter, went in depth about his battle with depression and, in support of Dak Prescott, but also, I was hurting too. He said at one point, he was like, there was a time in my life where I didn't care if I was dead or alive. And it's like, it's sad to hear that from people that you look up to so much, but it shows how real depression is, how real mental illness is. And it's just like, we need to support these people. We need to be there. That's why, they say that you need to check in on the happy friends too, because you can be wearing a smile 24/7, but deep down inside you're feeling just hurt,
Yes, I watched that video with Stephen A. Smith, and honestly, it overwhelmed me with emotions because, literally. You never know how someone is feeling on the inside, and burying these things is one of the worst things that you can do. So I was just shocked at the way that he reacted.
Yeah, and I think that shows what Dak Prescott did by opening up about it. He was like, now other people of such a standard can be like, okay, well, I can open up about it too. I can be vulnerable too. And I think that's so important that we let people like the people that we look up to, our idols and stuff, they hurt too. And we need to be able to let them express that and let them heal and let them get help.
Yeah, I mean, and he showed that leaders don't have to always have a poker face.
Yes.
And, those weaknesses No,
No, they're not
that at all.
weaknesses.
It just shows you how strong of a man he is, because there shouldn't be this double standard of, oh, women are allowed to show their emotions, but men should just be strong and masculine. You know, it's not like that.
Especially with
it's not like that
athletes, I feel like
anymore.
athletes there's such a toxic standard around them where they can't be like emotional, where they have to be like, you know, like you were saying, like they have to be tough, and I think that's just so wrong. Like it doesn't matter. Again, it does not matter who you are. We all hurt. You know, like it's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on Dak Prescott, Sam. And now we're going to switch over into how these football teams are performing in this first week.
So I want to know, season starting, who do you think started out the strongest or will start out the strongest?
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs have been projected to win the Super Bowl again. Patrick Mahomes, amazing player, even better quarterback this time around. Packers, another team to watch. I know. People have said that Aaron Rodgers on his decline, but I disagree. I think he's going to surprise some people this year. The Ravens, another favorite to win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, another great year under his belt as a dynamic quarterback. Tampa Bay, with the addition of Brady, definitely going to be ones to watch out for.
Okay, so focusing in on Florida teams, how do you think they'll rank amongst each other, and what do you think their biggest assets are?
Good question. Well, again, Tampa Bay with Brady, Buccaneers. I think they got a good offensive line for the trade-off this year. I think they have a good chance. I would definitely rank them highest over the Jaguars and the Dolphins. The Dolphins were destroyed by the Pats recently. Like, it was pretty bad.
The Dolphins haven't been good since I've been alive, basically. So,
Jaguars did have a win against the Colts, though. So I would rank them second. Dolphins, sorry, they're number 3 for me in Florida teams.
That's the one I can't even argue with on there. I'm a Dolphins fan, born and raised, but it gets more depressing to watch them each and every year.
Yeah, I mean, the Florida teams, they don't rank the highest among the other states, but, you know, MLB, they climbing up the ladder, so watch out for these.
And NBA, the Miami Heat, so we have some teams coming up for Florida representing.
Yes. So, switching to the Patriots, how do you think Cam Newton will fit in with them? Like, do you think he has the potential to fill Tom Brady's shoes? Because those are pretty big shoes to fill.
Okay, so I was born and raised in New York on Long Island, and my family have been Giants fans. Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So my family, we have been Giants fans. My dad has ingrained in my head since I was old enough to think that Pat suck, Giants rule. I remember watching Super Bowls with my dad booing the Pats, booing Brady. But my dad and I can both agree that Tom Brady might be one of the best or the best player to ever play the game. Watching, it hurts me to say it because I am Giants and New York, and I know, but it's hard to argue with Brady. It's with his impact and what he made the team. When you think of the Patriots, you think of Tom Brady. They're so hand in hand, and Cam Newton, great player. He's probably going to do great things to the Patriots. Is he good enough? Is he great enough to replace a legend? Only time will tell with that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I mean, they've only played one game so far.
Exactly.
So you have the rest of the season to prove what you got.
And like you were saying, like I grew up, again, a Dolphins fan, and, you know, we were always taught to hate the Patriots, screw them, you know, but even me and my dad could agree as well. Like, Tom Brady's the best. The best we've seen. Well, the best I've seen in my lifetime. Yeah.
Yes, Tom Brady is one of the GOATs, undisputed, and he led the Patriots to 9 Super Bowls in 20 years. It's a great tenor that he had with them.
You can't argue with his greatness. I know it kills me to say it, but it's true.
Now, do you think Joe Burrow will live up to the hype of being the number 1 draft pick? Because, I mean, first pick quarterbacks, they haven't won their first start since 2002.
And a lot of people were doubting, he had like this amazing year with LSU, but I know people were doubting that was just a fluke year, that won't happen again. What are his capabilities actually? So what are your thoughts on it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll live up to the hype. I'm a Burrow fan. He wasn't projected to win the Heisman Trophy. He wasn't even on the radar last year, right? No one projected this kid to come out of nowhere, and he ended up winning. He always had to fight and always was determined to make himself the best player he could be. So I think he'll live up to the I think he will live up to the hype. I think he has the potential. He comes out of nowhere. He came out of nowhere with the Heisman Trophy award. Like, where did he even come from? No one projected him to win. He wasn't even on the radar. And all of a sudden, this kid is surpassing everyone, and he's the number 1 draft pick. Also, he is so big on social media and has so many fans. Kind of trying to tie in that little social media aspect. I first heard about Joe Burrow from TikTok, like last year. Everyone was raving about him. Yeah, I'm serious. I was like, who is this guy? Why is everyone like freaking out about Joe Burrow? And every time I'd scroll through Instagram or TikTok, it'd be Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow. So he already has that hype train following him, and he lived up to it. He surpassed their expectations.
No, it's just like a funny thing. And I remember that video was like circling Twitter with him smoking the cigar on the couch. I don't know if you saw that. All the girls were like drooling over it. They're like, wait, who is Joe Burrow? Like, I need to know this name. Lord. Like, now girls are you're going to see a lot of influx in Bengals fans this year, definitely.
Some people hopping on the bandwagon for the Bengals.
But yeah, no, I could agree with that. I think I have faith in him. I want him to live up to the hype. You never want to see them fail, crash and burn before they even get a chance to start. So I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah, of course. And we always talk about how this year is like the year of the rookies across the board.
Absolutely.
Not just MLB, with everybody. They're really stepping up, and I love to see it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, they're making a name for themselves this year, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk to you about the NBA. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I have a very special guest, Mr. Mike Golick Jr. Let me tell you, this is one of the nicest guys I have met so far in this industry. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, smart move. I am not immune to flattery, so buttering me up on the way in is the absolute right way to do this. You're learning already.
That was the goal. I had it in my notes.
And we're back with Sam O'Donnell to talk some NBA playoffs. Now, some exciting news for UCF students like we are. Taco Fall will be the first UCF player to ever make it to a conference finals. Like, I think that's so cool, like I saw him walking across campus. I knew him, So what do you think his biggest asset has been to the Celtics?
Well, first of all, I never got to see Taco play. I am so upset about that. I'm a transfer student, so I came the year after he left. Devastated. I know everyone kept talking about him, and I was like, I didn't get to see him play once. His biggest asset, he is so good under pressure and can deliver when needed be. Like his first game with the Celtics, he played for 4 minutes, scored 4 points, grabbed 3 rebounds, with his first points coming from a standing dunk. He is so good under pressure. He knew he had to deliver in order to be signed by the Celtics, and he did.
Yeah, like people who know Taco know that he's a determined guy. Like he's going to fight, and he's going to fight to make sure he secures his spot, and he did. And I think the biggest thing, obviously is his height. He's able to do a standing dunk. He's able to basically push guys out. He's got that thing. Like not a lot of people are as tall as him in the NBA ever. I think he's the second tallest to ever play.
Wow. Well, first of all, go Knights.
Yeah, go Knights, charge on.
Yes, and second of all, everybody's looking for that clutch man. Comes in the game and he does what he has to do, and people can count on him because that's what a team is all about.
Exactly.
You work as a team. It's a collective effort. And, when these guys come in and play the game, you need to be able to count on each other.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that he's proven himself to be.
Yes, so now do you think that it's an even chance between the Heat and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Well, due to the pandemic and the craziness that has been the NBA, them pretty much having to sub in different players, often due to health issues and who can play, who's well enough to play, who's not well enough to play, they are both such different teams now because of the pandemic and subbing in different players. I think it's an even match because these two particular teams haven't played against each other with these certain players.
Now, to finish this conversation off, will the Lakers continue their dominance in the playoffs? Because, I mean, take a look at LeBron James and Anthony Davis. No one can block those men. No. I mean, it's just they've been such a dominant force. So what do you think about that?
Honestly, I hope they continue their dominance. They crushed the Rockets, crushed the Trailblazers. They're crushing it right now. No one can touch LeBron. No one's ever been able to touch LeBron, in my opinion. He's kind of an untouchable this season, I would say. Definitely. And I hope they continue their dominance. Hey, I'm a fan. I would love to see them continue their dominance.
I think, it's something that I'm a Heat fan, so I want to see them take it all. But with Kobe passing this past year, I think that'd be so cool, to see, the Lakers win it for him. I don't know, it's just that's tugging me at the back. I'm I want the Heat to win, but that'd be just so awesome,
Yeah, I hear that. That definitely gives me nostalgia of when never forget it, Houston Astros won 2017 World Series after the hurricane. It was a huge win for the city of Houston, and it really lifted their spirits up a little bit.
Time
so
when
that
they
reminds me of it.
I think that's it goes back to the power of sports, how it can bring people together in a time of such hurt. So yeah, we'll see. I honestly personally think the Lakers will do it. I think they'll make it to the finals, whether it's against the Heat or the Celtics, but we'll see.
Yes, we'll definitely see. Time will tell, and like we keep saying, 2020 is just a completely unpredictable year.
Very
so
unpredictable.
Honestly, who knows who will take it all? But thank you so much, Sam.
Just to tie in the whole Kobe thing, I think everyone everywhere is rooting for the Lakers now. They want to see them win. They want to see that team around, that team spirit after the passing of such an icon. Everyone wants to see them come out on top this year.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's even if you're not a basketball fan, you know Kobe. So Lakers, that. So it's such an iconic team, and he was such an iconic player. So I think that's something that everyone can agree, all right, we can root for the Lakers even if we don't normally watch basketball.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. Such a great conversation and great job on your first episode with us. Now, when we come back, we will be back with our final word. Stay tuned.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for a future success? And do you maybe have a favorite failure of yours?
I think there was a time in my life where I was living in Germany. I'd lived in Germany for a year. You might have read that in the article, actually. And I remember coming back from Germany and having the goal in mind to work in baseball, but really being completely resigned that there's no way I could possibly make it happen. I just didn't have, the technical coding know-how to be a numbers cruncher in a front office. I didn't really have any connections in the industry to speak of. And so I just felt completely dejected. And, I had this YouTube channel that had 800 subscribers. And the first time I made a baseball bits, which is, like you said, the flagship series, I probably got 200 views or something like that. But then I kept making them. And I think by the time I got to the third one, it just blew up. And then that's kind of where I got to where I am now.
And welcome back to our final thoughts of this week. We end it with This Week in History, with Jackie Robinson being named the Rookie of the Year on September 19th, 1947.
He led the National League in stolen bases his first year, and he made history because he was the first African American in the big leagues.
I think he's definitely a name that most people know, even if you don't know sports, even if you don't know baseball, Jackie Robinson. He ended his career with a .311 batting average, over 4,000 at-bats, Hall of Famer. He left his career with a legacy. He was the first African-American to ever play in the MLB, so it's definitely a name to not forget.
Yes, he was definitely someone that people looked up to. And he won the MVP 2 years later in 49. So he was definitely a prominent figure. And thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Girls on Deck. We will be back at you next Wednesday at 6 p.m. You won't want to miss it.